Hello, and welcome to wherever this is. I'm Tamarack, and this is a thing I guess I'm doing now. Um, a few weeks ago, I bought a 1988 Jetta, and it hasn't been started or driven in basically 20 years. So my intention is to get it back from the dead, but you might notice that there is no Jetta. And that's because first thing I need is a spot to actually work on it. And that brings us to this past and or future murder scene, uh, which is where I'm going to be working on the car and shooting hopefully more videos about working on the car. And but first, I need to actually clean this place because it is filthy. I don't know how well it picks up on camera, but this place is absolutely disgusting. So it's two abandoned places I'm bringing back from the dead. But without further ado, let's do a quick wardrobe change and get to work. What? It got dark.
So this garage is out in East Van, and one of the issues you might find in Canada as an apartment dweller is that most parking garages specifically prohibit working on your own vehicle. You can probably get away with doing an oil change if you're careful not to make a mess, same with changing fuel and air filters, redoing spark plugs, all things that don't have your car up on jack stands for a prolonged period of time. But that still covers most of your basic maintenance. I had previously owned a car years ago when I first moved to my current apartment, and that was in a patrolled lot, so I actually ended up doing a lot of this in a Canadian Tire parking lot. This car, however, is going to need a bit more work. Both the rear wheels are seized up, and I'll want to check engine timing and replace all the belts, as they've been stationary and under tension for several decades, and I'm planning on filming this all to boot. So it's a little bit more than simply popping the hood and changing out a few spark plugs, or twisting off an oil filter and sliding a catch pan underneath the car.
Okay, so the floor is slightly less disgusting. There's still a bunch of random vines that are just in roots that are creeping in through the walls. It's not exactly at ground level, so that's to be expected annoyingly. The next order of business, seeing as I don't have a power washer to power wash this floor, is going to be to get rid of this doohickey, which I have no idea what it's for. It's just some random unfinished shelving thing. So I'm going to tear this down and then probably call it a night because it's starting to get a little late.
But you might be asking, why a 1988 Jetta? Am I some sort of super mechanic throwing my hat into the car tube ring? Not at all. I've done basic maintenance on cars I've owned before, but certainly never anything this involved. But there's nothing magical about how cars function. They're just machines, and repair manuals from Bentley or Haynes walk you through the procedures for taking apart and servicing basically everything in the car. That is, for old cars at least. There's a lot of gripes I have about modern cars. They're getting bigger, and their aggressive stances and small windows make all their cameras and sensors mandatory because you otherwise can't see worth a damn out of them. But in addition to all the other environmental problems with cars and trucks, they have become consumer products, like your phone or your computer. They aren't meant to last, nor are they really meant to be repaired. I know it's cliche to say that they just don't build them like they used to, but it's actually true. If you pick up a Toyota Corolla from like the 90s or early aughts, you'll be able to keep that thing running until the heat death of the goddamn universe by following just the basic maintenance schedule. And on the other hand, all these new EVs that car owners are being pressured to buy, you'll be lucky if the battery holds a charge in 5 to 10 years. Internal combustion engine cars aren't any better, really. Automotive electronics has always been a little fraught, and the network of computers that run modern cars are both needed to diagnose any mechanical problems, but also must be maintained in running order since the car can't run without the computer. Sure, it comes with a lot of creature comforts and genuinely useful safety features, but all these are things that can and will fail under the stress of being in a metal box that gets very hot and is also left outside. And by their nature as consumer projects, they are less and less meant to be easy for users to repair, and you're more and more expected just to take it to the dealer for repairs. Now, I've never owned a new car, so for me, at least, hauling my old '98 Suzuki Esteem to the Suzuki dealer meant paying literally triple the rate of my usual mechanic, who's now regrettably retired, for basically the same service, but they had the code scanner that actually properly spat out what the check engine light was annoyed about this time. Maybe if I had a new car, it would be different, but I've never owned one, so this brings me to my next bugbear, in that I don't really need a new car. I'm not the usual kind of person throwing their hat into CarTube or Car Talk or whatever. I'm a leftist and an urbanist. I try to watch what I buy and minimize waste in my daily life. A new car just seems like an awful waste, both for the above reasons: they're getting bigger, they're harder to fix, they're more prone to breaking, and that all the effort and material and carbon emissions from building this old Jetta are already spent on it. It's already been made. And for what the owner was selling it for, either someone like me was going to buy it, or it was going to get scrapped. And that's just a huge waste given how good a condition the body is. The interior, well, that'll be a whole episode. It was someone's storage locker for a few decades. And like getting a new car, an EV or a hybrid, that's a whole bunch of new material combined into a larger, more complicated, less repairable and worse quality package. And for my troubles, the car dealer would ask a fresh 30 or 40,000 for it all. And for a car that will not last as long as this Jetta has, nor as long as it will once it's back in running condition.
And that's where I want to talk about the pitch for this channel. You don't need to be an expert mechanic to perform the basic maintenance to keep a car like this running. Even some of the more advanced stuff can just be done with a service manual and some basic tools and know-how. So that's what I'm hoping to provide here. Beginner-friendly tutorials and explanations on how to change oil, change tires, jack up the vehicle, and just the basic stuff you need to keep an internal combustion engine car like this going. You can think of me as kind of like a genderqueer aging wheels, except I'm in a sketchy shed in the back alley of East Van, rather than a cute farm filled with chickens. I even share his affinity for green power tools. This isn't even all of them. Or Ollie's Garage, whose parts and tool list both inspired the purchase of this particular vehicle, and also this channel kind of as a whole, with the exception of providing a little bit more information on what to look for in the tools that you're buying, and a little bit more detail on how to use them. But he's a good channel. You should check it out if you're interested in these old VWs. He's got a lot of cabriolets, and they are very cute. But I digress. I hope you will come along with me for this little journey of fixing up this old Jetta. I'm Tamara, and this is Infernal Machines.